Hi, my name is Sandy Gehring, and I am a digital learning coach with Keep Indiana Learning. And today we are going to take some time to introduce you to our favorite books to share and expand your readers to the world of STEAM. So, again, my name is Sandy Gehring, and like I said, I'm a digital learning coach with Keep Indiana Learning, a director of ELL, and have been an assistant principal also. So, I'm going to pass it over to my friend.
Hi, my name is Melissa Wally, and I am a digital learning coach also with Keep Indiana Learning. I am an EdTech specialist and technology coach for Hanover Community Schools up in Northwest Indiana. One of my professional passions is computer science for littles. So many of my books today are focused on that topic. I'm excited to share lots of books today.
Yeah, this is going to be a great time where we're going to share the books, maybe give us some ideas on ways that you can incorporate some STEAM activities into your time at home with your little. If you're watching this for in the classroom, that you can maybe try out in the classroom. But we really wanted to just give you exposure to some text that, again, you can read at home if you're a parent or a guardian with your kiddos, or if you're at school and you want to try it out with your classroom, that's wonderful too. Just a little reminder, when it comes to STEAM, you're going to hear two different words. You're going to hear STEM and you're going to hear STEAM. They're exactly the same thing with just one extra component, and that's art. So the acronym stands for science, technology, engineering, and then if you include the A, that's art and math. So again, STEAM and STEM, same thing. It's just STEAM adds in the art to it. So I think with that, we are ready to share some of our most favorite books that are also great for STEAM and also just great literature to share. So, Melissa, do you want to start us out?
Sure. The first book I have is an engineering book, which who doesn't want to promote engineering? And this book is called The Most Magnificent Thing by Ashley Spires. And it's a great book for the early grades. So I think it's good to model any kind of design thinking for young readers, young learners. This book, I think, also promotes perseverance, creativity. Most importantly, this book is about this little girl who makes mistakes and learns from them. And I think that can apply to any age. So you could read this to middle schoolers. You could read this to anyone. We know that it might look like picture books. You think, oh, that's just for little kids. But even bigger kids like to hear picture books read in the classroom. Any teachers know that. So the girl in the story, the premise is she's trying to make the most magnificent thing. And after many, many failures, she tinkers and hammers and measures, smooths and wrenches and fiddles. And the language is phenomenal until it's perfect. And I love a book that teaches kids how to fail forward. So it'd be a great book if you used it with older students to learn about some inventors that had a lot of failures and then turned it into successes. So it's also a great read aloud for language, some of those words and phrases. That would be something that you could incorporate. So love this book, The Most Magnificent Thing.
I love that. And I think one thing that you said that I think is so important and that I love is that every kid loves to read aloud. Even as adults or even as elders, sometimes with our grandparents or older family members, they enjoy a read aloud too. So have your kid even maybe read to their grandma or grandpa, and everybody loves to read aloud. I agree
Good
with you
point.
100%. And then the other thing I wanted to share with that, so there's an app called Hoopla that's connected to your library if you have a library card, and you can find that book on Hoopla. So it's very cool. If you can't make it to the library, go download these from your library to your device if you have one.
And it's free.
And it's free. You're right.
Mhm.
And so is your library. So don't forget to check out your library too. One that I wanted to share, it's kind of funny. I was going through some of my books, and I just put together a bookshelf and I came across these at the perfect time. So, growing up, and this is old ones from the 80s, one of my favorite books was Wayside Story from Sideways Schools. And so if if you grew up in the 80s, 90s, you probably heard of that series. Well, I was all about that series. And then as a teacher, I brought that in and they came up with some new ones. So these are actually Wayside Stories, Sideways Arithmetic from Wayside School, and then also more arithmetic from Wayside School. And so with this one, you're kind of tapping into that math part of STEAM, and it has really fun problems that the kiddos have to figure out as you're going through the book. So even though it's an old one, you are combining math to solve a story. And as you read the story and to solve riddles and puzzles along the way, so that incorporates the math along with the reading. So again, even though it's an old one, it's still fun. And then a great activity to do along with this is have the kiddos create their own math riddles to share with the class. So maybe they are pulling up one just like in the book and modeling it right from it. So here's a multiplication one. Okay, so it says straw times 2 equals, and then it shows how to solve it like you would a multiplication problem, and you get the answer, but then you have to figure out what the answer is based off of that. So it really gets their brains thinking, and then it tells you how to determine the next part of the story. So why not let the kids come up with their own little word math problems with it, and then maybe they can even attach a story to go to it if you want to take it to the next level. So 2 of them, check them out.
Very cool. Okay, so my next book is, again, this one's about technology, Boy and Bot. It's a cute fiction story about a boy and a robot, obviously. The boy thinks the robot should be cared for like a boy, and the robot thinks the boy needs to be cared for like a robot. So they have to think about perspective, think about each other, and it could be a good story for predicting and retelling. And then I could see early readers loving this book and wanting it to be read over and over. One of those good favorites. So I just think it's a cute story, bringing in that aspect in a fictional way. So just a simple one.
Like those illustrations already on the front. They
Cute.
kind of hook you. So the one I wanted to share next is called Grace Hopper, Queen of Computer Code. So this is a realistic book. Oh, yay! Well, let's talk about it together. Awesome.
Okay.
So what I love about this story is 2 pieces. It models for you that a woman in history played an important part as to where we are today. And then it also exposes the kiddos to coding. All kiddos are interested in coding right now. So those are 2 of the reasons why I really like this one. Melissa, you want to talk about this one too?
Sure, I do. I loved that it actually brought in, history, and it talked about when she was in college and what happened, and it talks about the phrasing. I have insatiable curiosity. It's solving problems. Every time you solve a problem, another one shows up behind it. That's the challenge. And so I love just the language and the conversation in the book. And it shows, like you said, it's true. It's an amazing book. And it tells about Grace. It's very inspirational. And it's a biography. So if children haven't been introduced to a biography yet, this is a great way to do it. I can't say enough good things about this book.
I love it. Well, so I want to share an idea for something to do that goes with that, the coding piece. So coding right now is so big everywhere. And one of the things that you can remember is there are lots of websites out there, lots of kids-safe websites that let them do coding. A lot of their schools may already be connected to some websites, but if you are comfortable with your kiddo, or if you get on and just look for coding games and websites, you're going to find a ton of them. Again, always use your discretion and look at them first, but you might try that. Another fun idea when you think about coding is to let the kiddos, if you have an old piece of technology at home, an old VCR, or even an old cell phone in a monitored environment, let them take it apart.
Or a
Let them
remote.
see what it looks like, or a remote. Let them see what it looks like on the inside, because they might see some wires that look like this and make that connection of, oh, look at how these wires made this work and these wires make the iPhone work, or not the iPhone. iPhones might be hard to take apart. The old cell phone or an old house phone would be good. So, yeah. All right. Well, Melissa, do you want to? I
Sure.
took one of yours. I'm sorry.
I have a couple of books here that are, as long as we're talking about coding, that are put
Oh,
out by Girls Who Code. They actually they actually have a series of books. And I think if you're not familiar with Girls Who Code, they're a nonprofit organization for girls that provide lessons and resources fully funded for schools that are specifically for girls. So I think this book is a good one. This one is called How to Code a Sandcastle. So I love that it is about coding, and it's just embedded right into the book. It's not like, I do have another book about, like a nonfiction book that looks like nonfiction, but this just looks, it's just a regular book, but the topic is coding. So I think that books like this, if a child hasn't had any exposure to coding, it's not going to make a lot of sense to them. But if they've had some introduction to it, or they're a little bit familiar, then it will make sense, because it does have block-based coding in it. So I think it makes me realize how easy it would be to include concrete examples of coding into like other activities. It's talking about like how coders break up big problems into small problems, which is actually a computer science standard, but it's talking about that in everyday situations. So I love that it's taking the computer science standards and concepts and just bringing it into real life in the book. So love that. And then I had another one that's a little bit of a higher level, but same thing. It's a Girls Who Code book. And this one kind of reminded me of the Babysitters Club book, just the look of it. And, it's just a whole series that empowers our girls. And that's how I feel about this one too. They're books that really empower our girls to be smart leaders. They can read about topics that interest them, but they still just look and feel like books that they would normally read. So I love that.
awesome. That's so funny that we picked the same ones. Another thing I wanted to share about this book is one, it would be a great one to take on spring break with you.
Oh, yeah.
If you're headed somewhere warm, throw it in the car and let the kiddos read about it, because it might spark them to come up with some cool way that they might want to build, even though it's not coding, but maybe they want to build a sandcastle. So when you think about STEAM, and you're talking about science, technology, engineering, art, and math, all of those things could go into them helping to build a sandcastle. Another thing that I really like about this book is that it also it celebrates coding and diversity, and that idea that it is introducing that world to all learners and all kiddos and all students. So I love that piece is there as well, so that we make sure all kids understand that they can be scientists and engineers and artists and mathematicians. So I love that one too. Another one that I wanted to share is, this is about inventions. So even though it's about an invention, it still fits into that STEAM. So what kid doesn't love the squirt gun, the water squirter, trying to think of a better way, the water squirter, sorry. So this is about the little boy who helped to think of and dream and create the water gun, the one that we all have played with, again, at the pool or on spring break. So it takes you through how he tinkered around with it, his thought process, and eventually how he developed the water gun. So this is about Lonnie Johnson, and he called it the super soaking water gun. So I just really like this one. Again, it celebrates diversity and thinking, and then also thinking about how you do inventions and how that invention can turn into, and how that tinkering can turn into something new, something cool, something people love for years and years to come.
That is really cool. I never even thought about who invented that. Like,
right? Yeah.
Fun. Okay, so my next book is a cute little robot, and the name of the book is Unplugged. And I think, like, obviously it's really cute, but it's a cute story about a robot. I feel like I'm on a little theme here about robots, who was plugged into his computer that he's plugged into every day. And when he was plugged in, he got to play games, dance, and learn. But then there was a blackout. And so when this blackout happened, oh, sorry, it's a girl. She became unplugged and fell out the front door. So once she gets outside, then she sees that there's this whole other world that she never experienced. So being outdoors gives her all these new adventures. And I think that this is an abstract introduction to having a digital diet. Like, you can't always be inside and be plugged in to your devices. So although it's a fiction story, I think it would lead to some good conversations, whether it's at home or at school, about how to maybe make a list about things you could do inside, things you could do outside, things that you can do unplugged and plugged in. I think it's good because also in computer science, we do use the term unplugged when we talk about lessons that pertain to computer science that are not digital. So I like that as well, but I just think it looks like just a story, but it actually has a very good message.
Very cool. So this one is a part of another series called the Amazing Scientist series. And this is about a woman. Have you seen this one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's about Dr. Temple Grandin. And when she was little, she was diagnosed with autism. And so people really didn't expect her to be able to communicate, or, didn't think she was going to be able to do the things that she did. So by using her thinking in pictures, she helped to advance and help to build many things around farming. So I love that it introduces you to someone who used her skill of being able to think in pictures to advance and improve a huge society, a huge, almost a culture of farming. So that is The Girl Who Thought in Pictures. And with that, thinking about an art idea. Today is kind of an interesting day to be talking about this because it's warm outside, but if we happen to get another snow this year, one idea that you could do with your kiddo to practice some of that art for STEAM is take a squirt bottle, full of water and food coloring, and let them go outside and do some snow art. And being able to just squirt that food coloring and create a picture, or just design flowers, whatever they would want to do. So doing some snow art is another idea of how you could expose kids to the art side of STEAM.
Great idea. Okay, sort of on the same vein of my last book, Unplugged, I have a book, but it's just a game. And this book is by Julia Cook, and it's about a boy named Jasper, and he's obsessed with his video game. And I think that we've all encountered a student like this. It's really overtaken his life. He can't focus on eating or school or his friends, and so it's become a real problem. So even things that he truly enjoys are not important to him anymore. So it really talks upfront about screen time, setting limits, and buckling down on that. So it has some good tips for parents and educators to maintain balance, help kids, and set boundaries. I like that. I love a good book with a lesson. And I think some kids could probably identify with Jasper, and for others, it can just kind of serve as a precautionary tale. So I think that's a good one.
My next one is about another person. This one is called Margaret and the Moon. How Margaret Hamilton saved the first lunar landing. So when Margaret was a girl, when she was little, she loved to ask questions. She was so curious. She was always asking questions, looking for answers. In fact, what I love, one of the things it says is, Margaret proves nothing can stop you from finding the answers you seek. So, in her curiosity, she was trying to find answers. And through that, she was able to use some math and science and help create computer commands for the Apollo missions. So again, another exposure of celebrating women in STEAM and the accomplishments that women in STEAM have done, and being able to recognize what they've done. And then also to remind kids to always ask those questions, as much as it can be frustrating sometimes as a parent and educator. The why, just keep that in mind, that they're curious, and curiosity always curiosity can lead to bigger things. So I'm going to go with Margaret and the Moon. And with that one, I wanted to share, I'll go with a science tip. One of my favorite things to do is baking. And one of my favorite shows is Chopped, where they get whatever they get in the basket and they have to create something. So in a safe environment, a monitored environment, again, pull out some ingredients from the kitchen and let kids combine them together and see what happens. You can bake them, you could just put them together. You could be strategic about what you pull out the vinegar and baking soda and let them see, if I mix these things together, what might happen. Or right now I'm looking at lots of recipes for edible slime and Play-Doh. I have a little one, so all of that goes in her mouth. So being able to combine those things, and let's create something out of some ingredients in the kitchen, and maybe kids will learn how to make some slime out of icing, baking soda, cornstarch, and or let them create food. So
very fun. Okay, so my next book is one that is new to me. It's called hashtag Goldilocks, a hashtag cautionary tale. And so in this book, it's cute. It's the message could go over younger kids' heads, I think, because Goldilocks, she finds a phone. She finds a farmer's phone, and she decides to start posting things on social media. Like she posts funny picture of her baby brother, and then she posts a funny picture of her uncle, and then she posts a funny picture of somebody else. And so you can imagine how that goes until it's not funny anymore to the people that she's posting about, and people are getting frustrated, and her followers actually get tired of her. And so then she goes into the woods, as Goldilocks does, and she starts posting about what she finds there. And that's where the hashtags come in, like hashtag fun. And so she breaks the chair and posts about it. She tastes the porridge and posts about it. And then she goes to sleep. And then, of course, the bears come home. And what has she done? But she's posted all of this stuff online. So when the bears come home and she runs away, well, they call the police, but all of her evidence is already posted online for her to, for all of that to catch up with her. So she gets a consequence, and as she should. But I think it's a good one for kids to kind of get that message that you need to watch what you post online. So I think there are a lot of books with that message, and this is just one of them. But it is something that we do have to teach kids these days, as social media has become so.
Okay. I love that that's a fractured fairy tale too.
Yes,
I love
yes.
that. I love fractured fairy tales. Okay, I have two more to go. So I wanted to share this one, Rosie Revere. And this is part of a series. So I wanted to share, I was just opening it up. I wanted to share some of the other books in this series because I'm thinking that maybe some of you may have heard of them. So there's Iggy Peck, Architect, Rosie Revere, Engineer, Ada Twist. So if you have a little one on Netflix, I think it is, there's the Ada Twist series too. So, you know, limiting screen time, but TV and introducing STEAM to kiddos through TV and cartoons is there. Then you also have each of those kind of get into a bigger one. So this is Rosie Revere and the Ruckus Riveteers. And so what's cool about this is it actually takes them back to the original Rosie Revere. And so Rosie's aunt is Aunt Rose, who helped build planes during World War II. So where you kind of saw the first Rosie. And so what this talks about is it is about a girl who's used to failing things and her aunt needs some help creating something, and she's watched her aunt do all the creating, and so she creates and fails and creates and flops, and that's okay. But she realizes that sometimes I need some help to create things too. So she gets her friends together to help create something for her aunt, and then you can decide whether and determine and read to find out if it is going to work. And this is a chapter book. I think this is my first, besides the Wayside Story. So this is my first chapter book that I've shared. There are lots of chapter books out there as well for STEAM. But one of the things too that you could go along with this, and even with the next one that I'm going to share, is for engineering, just giving your kiddos a box of things, a random box of things, and ask them to create something new to solve a problem. Really simple. Or you can ask them to create something and then have them tell you what it's going to solve. Or say, gosh, I need something that is going to help me hold my spoon in the kitchen. Can you make something? So all of those things help kids understand engineering and remembering that it is okay if something flops before it works. So Rosie Revere, the whole series, I would recommend the whole series, and there's picture books with it.
Okay. So as we are looking at books that are more modern times, I have Nerdy Birdie Tweets. Again, a social media book. So it brings digital citizenship into real life situations for kids, kind of like the last book. Nerdy Birdie is an avid tweeter, like, you know, some of us, and he wants his little vulture friend to join him in Twitter, and finally convinces him that his real life friend is shocked to see embarrassing pictures of himself that Nerdy Birdie had posted. So it might resonate with students maybe in like fourth grade and up, as they learn to navigate some of the social media, or even just, you know, texting. I think that it will help kids apply what they know about being a good friend to then the digital spaces, which they, you know, have to learn that the way that we talk to people in real life is the way that we talk to and treat people virtually as well. So reading books like this and having those conversation about characters helps them understand in real life situations. So I think books such as the two that I just shared are good ones.
I love what you said, and I you know, we shared all the things that, you know, you can do with STEAM, but it's also teaching them the lessons that have to go with being smart thinkers and users of different pieces of STEAM. You know, like if you are talking about coding, how do you make something purposeful versus something that is not, you know? So I like that, Melissa. So I have two more, but I want to share this one first, and I'll share them both right now. One of my last ones is Ellie Engineer. This is another chapter book. Both of my last ones are chapter books. But I think one of the coolest things about this is it talks about a little girl with her tool belt strapped to her skirt. So I think it shows girls that, again, you don't have to wear pants and you don't have to wear this technology looking suit to be an engineer. So this is about a little girl who wants to build the very best doghouse in the world. So she straps on her tool belt and she in her skirt, and she goes to start to build it, and then she realizes that her plans have maybe gotten too big, and so she pulls in her neighborhood friends to create the doghouse. And what's really neat about it too is it's got the sketches that she used. So it's fun to see that progress and her thinking, and how do I try and make it better, or how do I make sure my plans are not too much, or what can I take from something to add to my doghouse to make it even better. So for instance, if you can't see this one, what she did was she took the head off of the pumpkin toy that you push and the pumpkin spins around or lights up. So she took the head off of it so that she could use the spinner button for something else. Okay. So she used it to braid hair. So just really thinking about how you can take something and make it into something else. How you have to sometimes solicit friends to help you out and think through ideas, and how you have to alter your plans along the way. So I love Ellie Engineer. And again, that idea of girls in skirts can be engineers as well. And then just another fun one with another chapter book, Engineers. So it's about a little boy who orders a robot, and things went astray for him. Sorry, astray. Sorry. And so just kind of the hurdles that came with getting his brand new robot. So
Understandable. Okay, so the last one I have is kind of a simple book. It's called, Be Smart Online, just a little nonfiction. I think young students would like having a book like this. Actually, the content in it isn't exact. It looks like a book for really little kids based on the size, the picture on the front. But then when you actually look at the vocabulary in it and the content in it, it's not for first graders. For them to read themselves. It talks about digital footprint. And then I like that it has some reflection questions. Like it says, think about it. What information have you shared online? Well, a first grader probably hasn't shared that much, but it does give, like, it shows the picture of the footprints. And I like that. I like the way that it allows kids to reflect. It has some social media things in here. I like that it has real vocabulary terms, and then at the end it has like a little quiz. It reminds me of a book I would have read in the library when I was little, only it's modern. But I think it would be a good book to have to refer back to as a resource. So it's interesting to me that it says, rookie, get ready to code. So it's kind of like a pre-coding book, getting kids ready. I think I could see younger kids wanting to carry this around to be, to feel like they were really smart little coders, which I love that too.
I love that. You know what I really like that you just said? We're used to calling them smart little cookies. I love that. You're a smart little coder. I mean, have fun. How great to get that in your head. You're a smart little coder. So, Melissa, do you have anything else that you want to share about STEAM or literature, books, or, books that go along with it? Or
no, I think the biggest thing is that, if you're reading these in the classroom, obviously you probably have curriculum to go along, or you have a theme to go along. But if you're reading them at home, I think that you can't go wrong. I think, you go with what interests are. When you did the one about that had the plans in it that you just did, it reminded me of when I was young. I loved the book Harriet the Spy. And it wasn't a STEAM book, but I loved it. I could see myself in Harriet. I wanted to be Harriet. I wanted to carry around a little notebook with a pen. And that is how kids find their books. And that's why they choose their favorites. And I can see that happening with these kind of books. Kids kids gravitate towards what they love, and that's what we want. That's why we have to give them lots of good reading material.
I agree, Melissa. I agree. And I love that you had so many or picture books that were guided toward older kiddos. I think that really helps remind them to be that smart thinker again. So, with that, Melissa, that was so fun. Can you hear me okay still?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay. So with that, that was so fun. Thank you for joining us. I can't wait to read some of those books, Melissa, that you shared. And then make sure that you share some of those books that you read that we shared, or you could even share which ones you might have come across with us at Keep Indiana Learning. So check out STEAM, Expose Kids, and thank you so much. We'll see you again next time.
Thank you.